Hello and welcome to the TFO next morning. We'll be going over week 4, so let's get into it with the recap. On our very first Wednesday night lights, we had the Greek Legends take on the 8-Bit Brigade in a barn burner, as the Legends took the Brigade to overtime and were able to get the victory with a field goal from Uranus, 24-21. Then on Thursday Night Football, it was the 0-3 Rainbow Unicorns fighting off against their divisional rival, the 3-0 Venture Industries. And in a huge upset, the Unicorns' defense was able to hold the defenders. Unicorns getting their first victory of the season, 9-4. Then, part of the Sunday afternoon games was Nocturne Maniacs against the Racial Slurs, with the Maniacs bludgeoning them Slurs 29-7. The Raider All-Stars took on the Beer Gods in a beatdown where the All-Stars were only able to get a safety. All-Stars 2, Beer Gods 39. WWF Hall of Famers took on their arch rivals, the World's Warriors, but McCormick wasn't able to take on Dale, and Dale was victorious with his Warriors getting the victory, Hoffs 21, Warriors 24. The Azerothian Assassins took on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Torturers, and the Torturers, they laid the smackdown. Assassins 17, Torturers 31. The DBZ squad faced off against the Weapon X's, and the squad squeaked by 23-21. The Pallet Pokeballers took their high-octane pass offense into the G.I. Joe, but go Joe, as G.I. Joe secured their first victory of the season, Ballers 7, Joe 30. The Boxhead Capers faced off against the Whovians in a game that'll make me sleep on the couch last night. Capers demolished the Whovians, 43-0. The All-American Alcoholics brought their undefeated streak to the Champs Chumps, but the Champs Chumps shut that streak down. Alkies 14, Chumps 31. The Greek Legends faced off against the Lost Survivors, and the Survivors survive another week with the Guardians 14, Survivors 24. Mad Pop divisional rivals faced off as the South Jersey Slashers took on the Celestial Defenders. Slashers lost this encounter, though. They got 10 points this time to the Defenders' 34. Robot Masters fought the Rap Kings, but the Kings were just too royal, as the Masters lost 19 to the Kings 28. And then on Sunday Night Football, the VGV crew brought us the Stellar Offenders taking on the undefeated Hollywood Heroes, and the last undefeated team goes down as the Offenders take down their rival, the Heroes, 28-17. So now with all of the changes this week, the standings are definitely thrown in a loop here. In the bad snap, we have a 3-way tie for first place, as the Hollywood Heroes, the Stellar Offenders, and the Lost Survivors all are 3-1. In the bad crackle division, the Beer God sits up top by 1 win, 3 wins to 1 loss. In the bad pop division, the 8-Bit Brigade is number 1, 3-1. In the Mad Snap division, Venture Industries still holds the lead, 3-1. In the Mad Crackle, we have a 2-way tie for first place as the Greek Legends and the All-American Alcoholics are on the top, 3-1. 3 wins, 1 loss. And then the Rap Kings sit alone on the top of the Mad Pop, 3-1. Injury report. Luckily, the injury report's a little bit smaller this week. Nothing really big in the return department other than Michael Myers for the South Jersey Slashers coming back. They really need that top running back. And the All-American Alcoholics getting both of their guys back, so they'll finally be at full power. Injury-wise, though, there's a lot of big guys out that are injured, like the Nocturne Maniacs Mara. That's going to hurt them. Let's see who else is on there. Cousin Butch got injured at the end of his game against the World's Warriors. The Hall of Famer's going to miss him. They haven't had him for, I think, a full game this season. He really needs to come back. Copy Robot still injured for the Robot Masters. They are just struggling with him not back taking passes. And Gyarados, he got injured. The Pokeballers with that low resolution, Gyarados just couldn't Mega Evolve, and he's now sitting on the injury list. This week, remember, buys start. Week 5 has 4 buys coming up. The World's Warriors, the WWF Hoffs, the Rainbow Unicorns, and Venture Industries will not have games. My top 5 this week, my top 5 is the top 5 teams who are better than their record would make you think. So I wanted to spotlight some teams here who may not be the top of their food chain, but that I think are much better than what their record seems to indicate. Number 5 is the Boxhead Capers. They're 2-2. They're 4th in the bad snap. Their quarterback's Akbar this year. He's ranked number 6 QB in TFO. He has a 69.2% completion. That's number 3 in the TFO. He has 7 touchdowns and 1 interception. The Boxhead Capers really upgraded this season from Dr. Teeth, and it really shows. Akbar looked amazing. And don't forget about Animal, their running back. He's tied as the number 4 scorer in TFO with 7 touchdowns. And not on this list because she's kind of fallen a little bit off the map is Miss Piggy. You know, it's easy to forget her, but she's a hell of a linebacker, and teams really need to worry about her rushing in there and sacking. Actually, I think she's an end this year. She moved. So whatever position Miss Piggy's playing, you need to fear her. My number 4 team is the South Jersey Slashers. They're 2-2. They're ranked 4th in the Mad Pop. Really, what's really struggled these guys is injuries. Michael Myers he's been out and back and then out. When he's fully healthy, when he's here running that ball, the South Jersey Slashers look amazing. Right now, he's ranked number 7 running back in TFO, even though he's had all these injuries. He has 455 yards. He's getting about an 8.4 yard average with 4 touchdowns. And don't forget about their wide receiver, Freddie Cougar, who's also pulling double duty as a kick returner. And he's ranked the number 1 kick returner in TFO with a 27.8 yard average. So you combine that with the defeat they gave the Beer Gods in week 1. And if this team is full strength, I think people really need to worry about getting killed by these slashers. Number 3 is the World's Warriors. They're 1-2-1. And they're 3rd in the Mad Snap. They did get the tie, and so I think that makes this team look a lot less than they really are. Luckily, they were able to get the big victory this week against the Hall of Famers. Wide receiver Patton, General Patton's ranked number 1 wide receiver in TFO. 489 yards, 30.5 yard average, 6 touchdowns. He's a beast. Quarterback Sun Tzu is also ranked number 4 yards per attempt rusher with 14.6 yards. When Sun Tzu runs, he knows the art of war. But the World's Warriors are also a great defensive squad as right end Alexander the Ranked. He's Alexander the Great. He's ranked number 2 sacker with 6 sacks. And their left inside linebacker is General Sherman, who's ranked number 4 sacker with 5 sacks. So this is definitely a team that you need to be afraid of. This was Tolkien last year. Dale Johnson really knows how to make a good squad, so don't underestimate the World's Warriors. Number 2 is the Celestial Defenders, 2-1-1, 2nd in the Mad Pop. Again, I think the tie really is clouding people's judgments of this team. Also, there's a lot of expectations for the Defenders, being a previous champion, an Ifrit Bowl champion back in Season 2. So I think that there's a lot for them to live up to. Right now, I think they're doing a great job, even though they are not number 1 in their division. They're the number 1 ranked offense with 1,200 yards. Wide receiver Buzz Lightyear's ranked number 2 wide receiver in TFO. He has 408 yards for a 58.2 yard average. He is getting those boosters. He's jetting up into the stratosphere, and he's catching those. Only 4 touchdowns, though, but I would expect more from him as the season goes on. They're also ranked the number 4 defense with 820 yards allowed. And part of that is left end Miss Marvel. She's ranked number 4 sacker with 5 sacks. So the Celestial Defenders, I think that tie is making them look a little worse than people might. You need to give them credit. You need to give them respect. But I don't give them the number 1 slot, though. My number 1 team who is better than their record would make you think is the Champs Chumps. They're 2-2. They're ranked 3rd in the Mad Crackle. And wow, I tell you what, I have never seen a team where players of different positions play all positions. I mean, you got Kyle Kinesi running with the ball, their quarterback, he just jets it out there. You got wide receiver Chuck Liddell, who's ranked number 1 yards per attempt rusher with 20.8 yards. When he does that roundabout, man, it's a KO punch. Chuck is also tied as the number 4 scorer in TFO with 7 touchdowns. So he'll break your arm, he'll break your face, he don't care. Chuck Liddell is a beast. Another beast in the bedroom and on the field is running back Ron Jeremy, who's ranked the number 4 kick returner with 23.1 yard average. But the more stellar thing about Ron Jeremy is that he is the only kick returner with a touchdown this season. He scored it this week against a huge matchup against those undefeated All-American alcoholics. So I think the Chumps are looking phenomenal, and they're ranked 2-2. But give them some time, people, because you know what? They're going to break out, and this is a team people really need to be scared of. All right, so the See You Next Tecmo is up. So we check the time here real quick, and, I see we're at 11 minutes. So let's talk about some things, keep John Blog in his car a little bit. I mean, what is there really to say about TFO? But that everything is just awesome. It's been really great this season. Just some craziness happening this week. People like the Hoovians getting shut out. That hurts me personally. But all this bullshit talk about me showing favoritism to that team. Obviously, I did not show anything of the sort. But I don't know why they got crushed. I think they got a great team. I know the Boxhead Capers are a really good team, but they haven't been that phenomenal. Tom Baker had 0 yards on the day. Rory Williams was only held to 36 yards. I mean, the Capers defense really showed up. Capers offense also had 300 yards, so that's just incredible. That was a wild and crazy game. Another wild and crazy game was that Unicorns versus Industry matchup on Thursday Night Football. And, there's been a lot of talk about, whoever loses to the Unicorns needs fired and all this. But the truth is the Unicorns have a hell of a defense. They just haven't shown up in the last few weeks. They just looked horrendous. And they showed up this week. They were able to hold Brock Sampson to only 84 yards. That's a lot of yards for a normal running back. For Brock Sampson, that is just a smidgen of anything. Brock Sampson is a massive man. Elsa also had a hell of a day with 254 yards. The problem that the Unicorns are going to have going forward is their offense doesn't look that good. In the red zone, they looked horrendous. They should have been 21 points in this game. Instead, Ariel had to kick 3 field goals. Really hurts. Their defense was able to hold the Industries to only 1 touchdown. But, they can't live that way. The Unicorns are really going to need to pull something out here. Another game that really, had us talking was the Raider All-Stars against the Beer Gods, with the All-Stars only getting 2 points. Jim Plunkett with 14 yards on the day, 25% completion. Just horrendous. 0 run yards for the All-Stars on 6 attempts. They only had 1 first down on the day, while the Beer Gods ran 22 times for 115 yards. They had 154 passing yards. Really, just under 300 yards for the day for the Beer Gods shows me that defensively it looks like the All-Stars were doing some work. I know a lot of that score is garbage time touchdowns, so it's really making the Beer Gods' sense of ego probably inflate, but the Beer Gods really should have an inflated ego. They've looked really impressive. We kind of doubted them in the beginning because of that loss against South Jersey until we really got a good look at South Jersey. And it really looks like that South Jersey is a good team. Just Myers is injured now. But Myers was full strength during that Beer God game in week 1, and they really took it to the Beer Gods. Raider All-Stars, man, they've really fallen into this passer funk where, like them and the Azrathian Assassins and some other pass teams really are just getting kind of stuck. And it's really weird because nothing's really changed that would make the passing harder. But they just really haven't looked that great. And so hopefully that they can, shake this funk off because, the Raider All-Stars is a really good team. I know some people have been bitching that Bo isn't as good as he should, Bo Jackson. But, Jim Plunkett, we're forgetting that he is a previous offensive MVP. That man knows how to move with the ball, and he only got 2 runs this week for 0 yards. The Beer Gods really just look dominant on defense. I've never seen them as dominant as they were. So, just kind of crazy. I was impressed with the DBZ squad coming out with a victory against the Weapon X's, man. We've heard about this Wolverine offense where he's going to be running the ball a lot. Yeah, there were 25 runs for 163 yards total for the Weapon X's. They held the DBZ squad to 152 yards. So really, it really came down to the DBZ squad's defense really holding the X's. And that's really been the story for the X's this year, is that some of those quarterback sneaks, I don't think, and this goes to the Hall of Famers too, who lost as well. They lost to the World's Warriors today. They lost by 3 points. And Randy Savage had 9 runs for 72 yards. But man, when you're going for a quarterback sneak, you're really hoping for some good yardage. A good 10 yards would be great. But that run through the middle, that quarterback sneak through the middle, I think is hurting both these teams. And I think that they're reevaluating what that is and if they're going to use it next year, because I think it's pulling both those teams down. Another team that was really needed a boost in the arm was G.I. Joe, and they got the huge victory against their rival, the Pallet Pokeballers. When you get the condom going up against Mr. Shock, you knew there was going to be some bloodshed. And the Ballers looked so amazing last week with their 51 points against the Rap Kings. They just demolished the Rap Kings. And the Rap Kings are 3-1. They're nothing to sneeze at. We're thinking luck there, but come on, they've really proven themselves at this point. So G.I. Joe really needed to win, and they pulled out a huge victory. Snake Eyes was pulling his best Al Bundy impersonation, right? And but he had 113 yards. What's funny here? We were joking about that, but Al Bundy this week had only 72 yards. The stellar offenders on Sunday Night Football were just able to contain the Polkai Hero. And King Zarkon, or Lord Zarkon, no, King Zarkon, yeah, was just phenomenal. King Zarkon had 140, he had double the yardage that Al Bundy did. The offenders really, their defense was really able to help the offense capitalize in a game that made the offenders look like contenders. These guys look like that they're going to be someone you need to worry about in the playoffs. And we're talking about Nick Dean, who has never been to the playoffs before. So he's excited about this. He's probably popping the intergalactic champagne or whatever. So, how about some other games here? Greek Legends against the 8-Bit Brigade. The Legends squeaked out the victory with the field goal. Barry God Sanders did look pretty all right here. And it's just a testament to the 8-Bit Brigade's defense, that he didn't look better than he really is. Zeus even threw 2 interceptions during this game, but the 8-Bit Brigade just kind of stuttered. And so when we got to the overtime, the ending to that game was insane. It was just crazy because the 8-Bit Brigade went for it on 4th and craziness. All right, sorry about that. So, yeah, the overtime craziness, I don't understand what the logic of each of those teams was with the 8-Bit Brigade going on 4th and long. They should have just kicked the ball away. They just really literally gave it to the Greek Legends, who, they could have just easily gotten the field goal, and they just couldn't hold on to the ball. So they were lucky to get the coin flip, and the 8-Bit Brigade's defense just couldn't hold them. So it was just as plain as simple as that. So 8-Bit Brigade get their first loss of the season. It's really interesting because all the undefeated teams, every team has lost at least one game, while every team has won at least one game. So that really shows you the parity of the league this year. Maniacs just embarrassed the racial slurs. It was just crazy. Spear Chucker with 0 completion percentage, no yards, 1 interception. He looks horrendous. The Bum was the only guy that looked good on that team. Really, for the Slurs, honestly, to me, the Bum's the only good guy on that team. Their helmet looks funny, I know, and their name, and but they just aren't performing. The Bum is the only one on that team really performing. Big news here is Mara went out at the end of that game. Slurs kind of bountied him. It looked like, they knew they weren't going to win, so might as well injure him. And Mara's not coming back this week, so the Nocturne Maniacs, they're down a wheel, and that's a big wheel that they need. Azerothian Assassins lost to the Turtles. This is again what I was talking about, where the passing team, they had 239 yards passing. They threw one interception, sure, but I mean their yardage there was just great. You'd think they would get more scores. They outbeat the Turtles in first downs. Really, the runs kind of sucked for Azerothian. They only had 34 yards, but they're not really a run team. The Turtles ran for almost 200 yards. That's really what killed the Assassins, but I don't understand how they're getting all these yards and just not getting enough scores. They need to get in the end zone. The lack and inability to get into the end zone is killing them. I think I already went over the Alkies versus the Champs. I did that as my top 5, but I mean the Champs, huge victory here, really showing what they're made of. It's just amazing. If you haven't seen this team play, I recommend going to watch some of their games, because literally they got running backs doing wide receiver work, wide receivers doing running back work, quarterbacks doing running back work. It's insanity. Ronda Rousey, the highest paid tight end in TFO, really never gets the ball. That's because she's really a glorified offensive lineman. It's insane what Rick Pittman has done here. I'm amazed. I think that this is really the formula that's going to get him to that playoff spot that he wants. And so he needs to just keep pushing that agenda. They had over 350 yards today. Just insane. And they held Jim Bean to 33% completion. Keep it up, chumps. Keep it up. The Lost Survivors get an impressive win against the Westeros Guardians. The Westeros Guardians, they were the Season 1 champ. They're the Shiva Bowl champion. They know what it takes to get to that end level. And the Lost Survivors, they were, 7-9 last season? He was the Demons, the Supernatural Demons. And he went to the Lost Survivors this season, and they've just looked impressive. They're 3-1. John Locke looks like one of the best quarterbacks. He really hasn't thrown any or minimal interceptions. I think he may have thrown one interception. Didn't throw any today, though, and they looked really good. Their run yards also looked very impressive. They had 120 rush yards against the Guardians. Guardians' throw game's looking really good. Tywin Lannister is looking nice, but they just, again, passing, they're I think they're 60% passing, but a passing squad not getting into the end zone, that's not helping them. South Jersey Slashers against the Celestial Defenders. The Slashers lost this one. They got blown out last time they fought. They fought in week 2. So both of the South Jersey Slashers are against the Defenders. So they got to be happy that the Defenders are in the rearview mirror, because the South Jersey Slashers are a really good team. The problem is Myers has been injured. Once Myers comes back, he's going to go to the moon. The Celestial Defenders, I think people need to really start worrying about now. They've really gotten that Futurama spaceship fueled up, and they've been hitting light speed, so they're crushing it. Robot Masters against the Rap Kings. Masters still spiraling out of control without copy robot. Proto Man just looking horrendous. Shakur had 90% completions today, which was really good. The Kings are 3-1. They're leading their division. A lot of people thought Matt Bodenheimer, I think it's Bodenheimer. But I like the bod spray that someone posted about him. I thought that was funny. So, but I mean, he's definitely a student of the game. He understands how Tecmo works, and he's really designed a hell of a Rap Kings team. So, look for more of them in the future. So, but yeah, I mean, the season's been going really good. I know that some teams are lower ranked than they want to be. That's all right. You just gotta hope. Some of these injuries, people coming back, gonna really help you out. So. All right, I think that's it for me today. So, join us next week and see you next Tecmo.